Rob Kambeck. I'm with Product Management within Wonderware by Schneider Electric. I wanted to talk to you today about the new release, recent release of Alarm Advisor. And Alarm Advisor is a package to analyze your alarms. It can provide you very valuable insights of what are the disturbing factors in your plant or your facility. And it basically comes with a couple of components. This is the alarmadvisor.com website where you can go and try the product for yourself. Here is also where I can log in. This is in guest mode. If you would want to have a login and all that, download the Alarm Advisor software from WDN, and at that point you install it and you get a demo mode that will allow you to have 2,500 records, and you can connect that to InTouch or System Platform. So today it connects to InTouch and System Platform, and it retrieves the alarms from the ALMDB or the WW ALMDB. The WW-ALMDB is our legacy database that InTouch uses, and System Platform. The database is being the logger, the alarm logger feeds it data from the alarms from InTouch. It has to be in detailed mode. So a database that is in consolidated mode does not work with this system. So if you have a logger, you have to set your logger up for detailed and not for consolidated. And that has to do with the type of record sets. Then the second database that we support is A2-ALMDB right now. So A2-ALMDB is the new database that came out with 2014 that gets stored, its alarm stored not through the logger but through the engines directly and using the historian. So that is 2014 and 2014 R2. The newest one, history blocks that we released in 2014 R2, are not supported yet by the tool, will be later. So if I look at the typical things here is this dashboard provides me with metrics. These metrics are basically settings in the system, so I have to log in to get to those settings. So let me log in. It doesn't like me right now. Yeah. So basically, if we look at that, I'm going to pull up a Word document real quick. This is the settings page. If you look at the EMUA, there are 1,440 alarms peak per day, 144 alarms a day in regular mode, 1 or 10 alarms per 10 minutes. 1 alarm is average, 10 alarms is peak, which are recommended guidelines according to the EMUA, but they can vary by process and by location. So the first thing in Alarm Advisor would probably be to set up these settings towards your facility. So we have 3 sections here, which is general, KPIs, and systems. Systems is what we connect to. So right now we're collecting from one database. We can connect up to 10 databases into the system, and there are 3 Alarm Advisor editions: Standard, Professional, and Premier. So Standard does 1 database, Professional does 5 databases, and Premier does 10 databases. The clients, so the amount of connections to Alarm Advisor, so this is the client side that we are looking at now, is unlimited. So as many people that want to access the information can access the information. So here's the alarm rate that we talked about that are part of the EMUA, and 1 per 10 minutes, 6 per 8 per hour, 60 per hour peak, 8 per hour average. So I can make changes to this if I want to, and that gets reflected into the dashboard metrics. So let's take a look at the dashboard metrics. So the dashboard metrics can give you at a glance an overview of how the performance of your alarm subsystems are doing, and if you're trending towards target or away from target. These dashboards can be edited, and you can add widgets to it if you want. These widgets basically are alarm rate and severity distribution. So if I want to look at the alarm rate, things that I would have to my availability here is I can go in and I can do it time-based. So I can look per 10 minutes, per hour, per 8 hours, 12, 24 hours. I can apply filters. Filters could be a tank farm in this case, or a reactor, or all the reactors. The filters can be built dynamically, so you can build your own filters, the things you want to see in your plant and the things you want to focus on. So that can be a specific area, can be a specific node, can be anything. It can be only acknowledged alarms, stuff like that, only unacknowledged alarms. So the total rate by severity, display choices, and then the comparison. So you can do current month, year, half, quarter, day, week, depending on how much data you have in your system, or last, and last I can do last month, last week, last quarter, like that, and then you can compare it to the previous, which is, it shows you the date here. If I do month, it's 3/1 to 3/31, which it was March, and it's going to compare it to February. All right, so if I say current month, it's going to take April, and it's going to compare it to March. Very easy to set up. So these you can set up by yourself, and so the alarm rate has two views. You can switch. I can show you a total number or severity distribution. So these can switch in mode of what they are showing. And then this pie chart is the severity distribution. So it shows you how many you have in each category. Also, that metric can be defined. So according to the standards, we put the standards numbers in here. So right now I'm 47% here, 15, 11, 21. So the top ones, I have too many alarms in critical, high, and medium. And that would be my goal, to get those numbers reduced and be more in compliance out of a severity distribution perspective. So if we go to the second part, which is now looking at the analysis, that was the dashboard. So if we look at analysis, really is, and let me pull up the Word document again. The typical use of these reports is to see when alarm rates peak and how severity distribution changes over time. So in a glance, this shows you, if I go to current week, and we get a better view. This is a demo system that I started up this week, so it doesn't have too much data in it right now. It's gonna have it, but it has to run for a little while. So here I can see the total alarm counts, which is 724, and of those were 230 low, 86 medium, 194 high, and 214 critical. In a real plant, this would be bad, because that would probably mean that my plant shuts down every 5 minutes. And here's the list, so you can always switch to a list view. These widgets tell you KPI of that total rubber band selection. So if I would make it smaller, like right now I have 15,000 alarms that I'm looking at, but if I go to the current day, it would basically zoom in and say, oh, you're looking at 4,500 of 15,000 alarms, right? So, and you can then, and this time scale changes, it's now hourly. So it went from a certain view to hourly. Now, let's say I would want to see real quick here, things that I can do here. I can build filters. So I can say, where the alarm is acknowledged, right? So basically is acknowledged. Now this is a demo system, so it's very badly attended. There's no operator here. So these two times the system was acknowledged, and it was 76 alarms were acknowledged. I can also see in here, if I take that away, I can say from a certain area, and all the areas are in here. So I can choose a certain reactor, probably 2 reactors, and then I can say, was that acknowledged? And I can go in here, is acknowledged, apply, and then it will show me only by those 2 areas. So those were 7 alarms. And if I go to list view now, I'm starting to drill down in what they were. So brings me to the next alarm, goes to frequent. So the next report, frequent report, is things that happen often. So it shows the 7 alarms here. And it shows on what days they occurred, so I can pick them, and they show me here in the bottom what days did they occur, and then I can switch to a list view, and it shows me the 7 alarms. So 4 reactor level in R34, reactor temp and reactor temp, total duration, and then minimum maximum duration, and if they were acknowledged. So in this case, because we have the filter on, we only see acknowledged alarms. I can also say, well, from all this, bring me back to all of my alarms. The frequent reports are used for, let me show you, bring back that Word document for you for a minute. So the frequent alarms are those alarms that occur very often. And the frequent alarm report shows the bad actors. Eliminating the top 10 or 20 of these can often reduce the alarm load significantly. When confronted with frequent alarm situations, it's valuable to examine if the alarm limits are set properly in this case. So this report will also tell how many times an operator acknowledged the particular bad actor, what gives an indication of responsiveness. And not only that, lower act rates could also indicate that operators have too many alarms and basically are unable to keep up with. So those key metrics are presented in these widgets. So these widgets actually say, okay, for the current week you have 1900 alarms, 285 alarms a day, and then the selected alarm statistics here are 1 day and 70 hours, and 1% were fleeting and 0% of the alarms were acknowledged. So basically none of the alarms were acknowledged in this case. Okay. If we go back and take the filter off, we should get more alarms. So now we get the top 25. You can select how many alarms you want to see, 25, 50, 40, 30, 10. By default it's 10, but you can increase the count and see more top end number alarms. So that's the frequent report, and that will tell you a little bit about how many times alarms occurred and which are the bad actors within your facility. Standing alarms are different. So if we take a look at standing, and standing alarms are really are those alarms that are active for very long durations. These often indicate conditions caused by faulty alarm limits, by systems that might be offline. So things that you could use here are plant state suppression. You could use shelving. You could use tools to tell the system that these systems are offline, and so they don't have all these standing alarms all the time. It might be also decommissioned, but the alarms were never switched off. A thorough review of the cause will often resolve a lot of them. Standing alarms often have a high ACK rate since they are always present. So with frequent, they come very often, but standing, they don't come often, they're just always there. These are, whatever control room you go, you always see this long list of acknowledged alarms, and typically those are the standing alarms that basically are always on, no matter what the condition of the plant is at that point. So we talked a little bit about how we can reduce these. There are 2 reports here, by most frequent, so things that happen more often, or standing alarms that basically are indicated by longest standing alarms, right? So this one was on for 3 days and 4 hours, right? And the color indicates what severity it is. So here's a critical alarm that was on for 3 days and 1 hour, all right? So this is that report. and that's based on frequency, standing by most frequent and the longest, and then the total of standing alarms, which will give you the total counts, which is the one in the bottom. And you can see by time, at what time of the day, week, month, year, you had the largest amount of standing alarms. So that's what this report does. The next one is fleeting. And fleeting is a definition, basically a system setting that you can do. And in this system, it's an alarm that has been on for less than 30 seconds. So let me take a quick look at, show you fleeting in the document. So fleeting here is typical alarms that appear and disappear frequently and are very often short of duration, too short for the operator to act upon. So a lot of these alarms won't be acted. So typical act rates low in the low percentiles are probably appropriate because the operator never had a chance to act them. They were gone before he could act them. Criteria can be set around alarm duration, chatter time. So things they're also sometimes called chattering alarms. Things to do to get rid of these is more put bounce and debounce timers into the system. A certain amount of time, like here, I'm looking for, I think fleeting is defined as 30 seconds in the system. I can put it to 15 seconds or 10 seconds, and then basically anything that comes and goes within 10 seconds is identified as a fleeting alarm. So these reports you can then use to put those bounce and debounce timers in and basically get them eliminated that way. So there's a total one again, and then the most frequent alarms, which in this case is reactor temp. I could switch to list view again, and that one has a count of 70. Total duration was 25 minutes, average duration was 21 seconds, minimum 4, maximum 26. One time here it was acknowledged. So as you can see, that's the fleeting report. Then the last one that we have is consequential. Consequential is basically determining that within your system, if something happens often, related with that might be other alarms that happen too. So for example, when this happened, this is a very low probability, so this is by confidence. So if we look by occurrence, by confidence is more like a, I can say reactor temp. 98 times and 15 times this one occurred, 13 times. So most likely these don't have a relationship. But there might be some that have a relationship between each other where you can say, if this goes off 50 times and this goes off 39 times at the same time, are they related? Do they have something to do with each other? Can be, because remember, we can analyze multiple databases, so you might have 2 or 3 databases in this system and that are shown on different terminal stations, right? So for an operator or for somebody that operates the facility, they are, one might be the steam utilities, boiler utilities, production facility, packaging, and they all might be impacted by one event that ripples through the system. So with this, you can identify these type of events if they influence things that are down the line, and that can be based on confidence or occurrence. And those are the things that you would use consequential analysis for. So this was a short introduction for Alarm Advisor. We will be posting more videos. There will be 4 instructional type of videos that we'll post later. This is more the introduction video, and we'll come back with all the other detailed information and talk about it. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.